Hello, welcome to another video in this Rails API plus React video series. And in last video, we created the register slash login page. And in this particular video, we will focus on doing the API call. So basically connecting it with the backend. So let's start. Let me start, run the code, Rails server, npm run dev. Let's see. One, two, yes. Okay, so this is the basic code that we have. Let's go to login page. We have this. If we go to register page, we have this. Great. So we have to register. Uh, okay. So first I'll fix this particular error. And for that, I think one of the subscribers mentioned that we just have to use e.prevent-default. And this is a very small error that I actually miss on a lot of projects. But anyways, let's do again. Okay, we are getting this error, but we should get error for this also. And for that, const, not const actually. Okay, const should also work, but let's do new errors is equals to, I'll create a new object. The problem is that these are asynchronous functions. Set error, which is basically a update. These are asynchronous function and they might have some timing issues. So what I want to do is I want to set this only once, which is set errors new errors. Now we just have to control what new errors we'll get in this. So for that, what I can do is new errors is equals to let extrapolate previous errors. Obviously, I know we are creating it here only and there are no errors in this, but still, I would like to keep it like this only so that copy pasting this code can become easy. And if I add another if else condition above this, it should not break anything for me. And let's add this and get rid of this. Similar to this, let's do and now it should work. Let's try this, refresh. Both the errors are visible, great. So now we will try to make the API call, and for that I'll first open the Postman. I have to make post API call for users, and the server is this, great. We have already a body in which we have a raw JSON object, which has user, email, and password. So let's try to make this API call so that we can be sure that our server is still working. Yes, signed up successfully. Great. So now we can use this API to create an API call. Let's do that. And for that, what should I do? I won't use any third-party libraries. I'll just use fetch API call in JavaScript. Let's use simple code only. You can use Axios. I think React query is another one. Then there is server-side rendering or something related to that. I don't remember the exact library, but there is one library which manages cache and all those things also, which is really good. Okay, we have to make an API call like this, great. Where are options? Great. Request option, fetch. Let's make this API call. So I'll copy this code and I'll create a new folder called APIs. Okay, I've already created it. Files, authentication.js. Similar to what my, actually not similar to what my component name is because it might be different, but basically it is similar to what type of API calls I'll put in this, mainly register, login and logout. So let's paste this. Now in this we don't need because, wait, let me cut this again and write const register API. And in this function, I'm keeping this entire code. Now inside this, we'll get this post data in terms of body object. I'll take body object directly. So let's get rid of this and use body object, which I'll use here. That's one. Then we do have request options header already set up, so we'll keep it like this. Sorry. And for register, we have to make post API call only. If you will check our post and post API call, by default content type application JSON we can use. If you will remove this, you will see some error. Then you can keep it again if you want to understand this in detail. Now we will need the API call for register API, right? So for that, I'll create another config folder or maybe utilities. No, let's create here only config.js, in which I'll create this domain. So const export const domain. Yes. Now I can import this here because we know that I'll be using this again and again for various API calls, right? So if we are using it again, let's create that as a variable and use that directly. So let's import this from config. Great. So now I can use this here. So we have our domain, which is this up to 3000 port, and then /user/user. So our URL is ready. Request options are ready, but we will have to pass the body object correctly. Wherever we will be calling this register API, from that we will pass this register object body. And after that, we have all these things, but we'll send the response back to our authentication file. Okay. So for that, I'll have to think of it. Let me check a couple of more examples. I'll use this one actually. Let's cut this. Fix the indentation. Use this API now. Await. Okay, we are using await, so I'll have to use async. So that is done, and body object, or maybe just body, yeah, body object fine. Headers we have, and what else? I would like to keep headers on top just for better understanding for my case. And now I think we can start giving responses. So for that, I'll return. Let me check this here. Okay, return. So in return, I'm returning an array. There will be two parts in each array. First one will be the data, second one will be the error. And in our code, we will always check the error first. And if it is empty, then we will say that, okay, we have data. So if we talk about this part, it does have an error. So the first part will be empty. And in second part, maybe I can write, what type of error will it be? Server down, I think 500, not sure. And along with that, I'll use, let me do a string interpolation here, error. Okay, that's one. Second, and let's get rid of this. What else? If we have response.ok, actually if our response is okay, then I'll return response, and error will be empty. Okay, and for that I can use this also actually. Result should be data. Great. And finally, if it is not okay, then we will have to check what all things are problematic, but still it will be an error. So for now, I'll just write error. Server side error, something simple. So if you are doing this for the first time, I'll just explain you quickly. Fetch is a JavaScript function which helps us to make API calls. In any API calls, if you will go to the Postman, we require minimum two things, which is the type of API call, which is either get, post, delete, put, all those kind of things, and the URL. These are the two minimum things that we require. Now, if you are posting something, that means you are adding some information to the server. So what is that some information? This is the some information. In our case, that would be equivalent to body object. Okay, so this is the some information, extra information that we want to send to the server. That's third part. Now, fourth, we set headers also. Headers helps us in a lot of various things, but for our case, it will help us in authentication or the authorization of the user. Okay, so yeah, all these four components make our fetch API call, which is this. You can see URL, method, headers, and body. And finally, if the whatever the API call is, either it is successful or failure, we will get the response here. Once we get the response, we check whether it is actually successful API call or not. Okay. For example, if this domain does not exist, okay, in that case, we tried doing this, but it will fail and therefore it will go to catch. That's one. Second, it did connect with our server, but from server side, we got some error. Okay. In that case, we won't get this okay. Response won't be okay, and we'll get the error and we'll write this error. Okay. And third case, server connection with the server was successful. At the same time, there was no error. In that case, we can fetch the data and all those kind of things. Okay. We'll again have a look at it in depth. This is the data that this is the entire data actually. This entire object is a data. So maybe I'll have to rename things in that. So instead of that, let me rename here only. Okay, so now we just have to make this API call. Okay, and request. We can pass in this request object here. Great. So let's make this register API call. Have we exported this? No. So let's export this also. Register API. Let's import this. Import register API from /API/authentication. Great. Now, if you have understood this part, keep things simple in your mind. When we will call this API call, we will have to pass the object, body object that we want to send. And what will it return? It will return an array. The first part of the array will be a data. Second part of the array will be error. Okay, so let's use this information. We have to make an API call, right? So register. Actually, first we'll have to decide whether we are on login page or sign up page, right? So for that, we can use if authentication dot, nope, not authentication, page type dot login. If it is login, then we will do login API call, which we will write later. First, we'll focus on register only. And else it will be register, and in register, we can write register API. And in that, we will start sending our data, which is equivalent to this. Sorry, this. Copy, paste. I think we can just send it as key. But we know password is email and password we have to take from user. So name, no, sorry, not name. Email, password. From previous video, you might remember that email and password is something that we were saving in user state, right? So we'll send that to this object, make the register API call, and we'll get const directly like separate this result error. Okay, once we get this, console.log result, sorry, and what else? Error. Okay, so whenever I'm trying to make API call for the first time, what I try to do is I try to move from I don't know what we should say this, but bottom to top, you can say. Top meaning it is successful and bottom meaning it is failure. Okay. So bottom would be that we get this error, which is completely out of this code, right? So for that, we will have to make sure that the API is not correct. And for that, what I'll do is I'll write something else. Okay. So let's try to this is the I'm right doing this change to encounter an error in our case. Okay. So let's do this. Let's see. Refresh, inspect, console, test1 at the gmail.com, 12356, register. Okay, is not a function and its return value is not iterable. Okay, so basically it returns a promise. So we will, I think, have to use await. Basically, this is not a function, it's a promise. It returns a promise to us. So if it is a promise, we will have to use await with it. Okay, why is it saying password length is incorrect? It should not say that. Was the API call not successful? What's the issue? New errors. Okay, we got the new errors. Password should be of at least 6 characters long. That is correct. Value, set password, password email API, and let me try this again. Not sure why we were getting this error. Okay, this might take some time. Let me have a look. Register, login. Okay, already did this. Handle, submit. Handle password, change password. And if we get the password error, we are showing that password error. Okay. Okay. Uh, I'm just not sure what is happening here actually. So there is one thing that we can do. I have one code. Maybe I can directly open that file. Not sure. Basically, I want to check if the errors are there or not. Okay. So for that, what I will do is I will directly go to ChatGPT. Let's fix this quickly actually. Let's not get stuck in this. I'm sending my I want to check if there are any errors or not before making API call. Let's see what does it give. Mostly it should give something like object.keys or object.values, something like that. Okay, has and all those things. Great. So we have this. I'll just quickly use it here. Okay, and get rid of this. Let's use this. Scroll a bit. So basically, we are checking, iterating over the values of errors, and in that, we are checking if there is any error or not. If it is not equal to this, that means there is some error, and in this case, we will write has error. So if it does not have any error, actually, if it does have any error, we'll just return. That's it. We'll already show errors using this, so we'll just return. Otherwise, we'll make the API call. So that's the first thing that I want to do. Test1 at the gmail.com 12346 register. We are still getting the error, not sure. So maybe try out something else, which is okay. Still getting error. So what I'll do is I won't validate this for now. Later on, we'll fix this quickly. That's how I try to get unstuck in any project. Let's not fight with any specific thing. If it is creating a problem, comment this, write a to do, validate password, and you can easily revisit this with fresh mind. Okay. Basically, right now I'm trying to fight with API call, password, error, and a lot of different things, right? So I'll just try to minimize that to only password and rest everything should be successful. So that's how I'm thinking. Register, nothing worked. Okay. So we'll have to check const, sorry, not const, console dot log register API. Let me check if the API call is happening or not. If it is happening, that means there is some issue with the promise and await thing that I have written. Okay, so it is happening. That's great. But we are not getting the response, I think. So console dot log result, but mostly we will not get this because I've already explained you that we are trying to create a failure case. So in that case, I'll write error, error. Okay, let's do this again. Test one at this 1 2 3 4 5 6 register. Okay, we are not getting anything. Why? Register API. Okay, okay, yeah. Server side error. We got the error. So now we will have to fix the URL. What do I want to do? I'm just deciding whether I want to show this error or not to the user because we will have to show this, right? So if we are getting this error, let's go to authentication. And in that, if we are getting this error, sorry, if error, then we'll use that set error thing, right? Let's extrapolate previous errors and in that I'll write API, which is error. Why is it not correct? It's an object. That's why. Okay, so we should see some error here. Let's try this again. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. Great. Okay, server side error, but it is not visible. Why is it not visible? It should be visible. We are getting the result. We are getting the error. We got the error successfully. Error is available. And let's get rid of it from here and here and see. Check again. We got the error. So error is available. Setting error is not working, or maybe we are not showing the API error actually. I think we are not showing the API error. Yes. Below button, I will show it. 1 2 3 4 5 6 register. And we can see this error. Great. So I'll fix couple of things here. I know designing is not perfect, but I won't focus on that right now. Server-side error, at least the error is visible. You can show it in the form of toast, or you can show it somewhere top, anything you can do. Okay, right now I won't focus on this part. So this is done. Now let's focus on fixing this. So we made the API call correct, but we'll write something incorrect here. But in that case also we should get the same error. Or maybe not actually. I think in that case we might get server-side error. So let's use this. Basically, I'm trying to cover each and every case type of errors. So in this case, we got server side error, which is this. And actually later, in previous case also, we got server side error only. So my, my theory that using the incorrect domain will give us this error was not correct. I think maybe this will give us error in case when we don't have internet. I think so. Yes. So let's use users and let's try this. But if I will try this, it will give me a successful API call, which I don't want. I want to show you something. So let's go to backend. make some changes to our API. Let's see if we can make changes. Controllers, users, register. And in this, okay, let's make successful API call right now. Okay, server-side error is still. Why? This is the API call that we did. From origin, this has been blocked by course policy. Okay, great. So course is basically cross-origin wait, cross-origin resource sharing. I think so. Cross-origin resource sharing. Correct. So basically, cross-origin means these are two completely separate entities. Our backend is separate, front end is separate, and they are trying to access. They are trying to share some resources, and our server has blocked this particular URL, saying that, hey, look, we don't allow sharing resource with you. We don't know you. So right now we will have to make sure that our server knows this particular client. Our server knows our front end. How can we do that? For that, we'll go to our backend. In that, okay, sometimes you might get confused in which folder you can find file. So this is not our application related problem. This is a configuration related problem across the app, right? And we know definitely it is not database or library related problem or public or storage related problem. Bin is for scripts, app is for the code base that we have written, and config is setting up the project configuration related thing, right? So we'll go to config, and in that I have to find initializers course, and we can find the error. It allows API calls only from this port, but we don't want that. We want it to be, we want this from this port. So let's do this. Now we will have to restart our server because we have made changes to our config, Rails server, some space, and let's make this API call again. Test 1 2 3 4 5 6 register. Server side error. Great. 422 unprocessable entity. Okay. Now okay. This is the log that our code is given. Let's try to understand this. There was one post request on users at this particular port at this particular time. Great. Active record schema migration did this. Okay. Users registration start this. Okay. Parameters user email. Okay. So this is the email that we passed. It did got their password also went there. Registration. It tried the transaction. So that means our data is going correctly, and that's why it tried the transaction. But it used select one as from users where they did this. Okay. And it rolled back. Okay, got it. So let's go to our code in our registration. But before that, let me check. We have made users, right? Users, this, great. So let's go to controller, users, registrations. Let me check if our database is working correctly or not. So for that, I'll use Rails console, and in that I'll write user.all. It should be an empty array. No, it is not an empty array. So the data got created, and even after that, we got unprocessable entity. So we'll just have to fix that actually. It was a post API call. It got persisted. Let me log some things here. Puts success, puts delete, puts unknown. Okay, we'll be able to see this in our terminal. Okay, so let's make another API call, but this time we'll have to change the user. So test2@gmail.com. 1 2 3 4 5 6. And if we go here, we can see success. So definitely our case is working here. This success is working. Then also we got the error why. I think we'll just have to log our result to see this success correctly. So for that, I'll get rid of these put statements. We don't need them. And go to authentication. And I think I made some mistake here. So what we can do is we can go to response.ok because I'm assuming it should be okay. And in that, console.log result. And I'll try to log this also. Mostly it should not work, but still. So again, let's try this. But we will have to use another user test3 at the rate gmail.com 123456. Register, and we got a pending promise, but there is no result. Okay. So maybe what is happening here actually? I think I'll have to clear my concepts of promise and await. Yep. So let's make it simple. Let's try to see. Okay, sure. I see a couple of issues provided in this code, corrected version. Okay. Post request options, method was post, then header application JSON, which was correct. Body object, this is stringify, this is also correct. In response, we have to wait. Okay, let's use await. And we made the request, then response. Okay, await. Okay, great. And if it is working, okay, in this case also we'll have to do this. Okay, so let's use this. This I was not aware of. And finally we have this. So let's try another. I know you, for you guys it might be getting boring. Just provide the correct solution, but I'm not creating this video before and trying all the correct solutions and all. I'm just doing it on the go, and that's how I like things actually. So let's try register, and we got the response. Great. We have data, we have everything. So we have data, right? Result, we got the result as this, and inside that we have data as well as message. So we'll have to go to authentication, and in that else result dot message result dot data const message is equals to this, const user is equals to this, console dot log message, and console dot log user. Let's log user also. Refresh. Test8 at the rate gmail.com 123456. Register, and we got our user, we got our message. Great. So if it is successful, we can directly take this user to home page, and we will set some details using which we can understand whether the user is logged in or not. Okay, but we can do that later on, because I think it has already crossed some time to do. Show task, no. Navigate to home page. Okay, I think we can do that. Import, use navigate from React router DOM. Okay, and we'll have to set it here. Const navigate is equals to use navigate, and we can use this navigate now. So for that, navigate, and I'll just write root path. Okay, so let's refresh and see this. Okay, there's some issue. I think user navigate. Okay, not user navigate, use navigate. Great. Let's try this. Test11 at the rate gmail.com 123456. Register, and it worked. Great. Refresh. By the way, right now we can still go to register page because we haven't saved the user information. That we will do after some time. I still want to do a couple of things here. I will also make API call for login. So for that, because I know that we can do that quickly now, It will be a bit of repetition, but let's do this still. Later on, we can use ChatGPT to optimize the same thing. In that case, also we need the body, but I think we'll just need to change the URL to sign in. I think that's it. Let me quickly check that. Exit, clear, Rails, routes, dash C user. And what is for sign in? Sign in, sign in, sign in, sign in. Yes, create, sorry, post user sign in. Great. So post, this is the data, everything is correct, sign in, great, we'll get the response. So in both the cases, we'll get the same response actually. So we can maybe, will it work? Does it work in, I don't think it works. So let's do one thing. Handle response. And in that, once we make this API call, we'll handle this response here. Okay. And same thing I'll do for our other API call also. Here I'll change it to login API and I'll create this function called const this, sorry, handle response, and in that we'll use that array. Great. What is the array? Result and error. Great. Result and error. And finally from that we can use this code. By the way, in this code also we have only one change, so let me write it. Const register login, no. Mm, sign in, no. I'm unable to find the best word for this, so maybe sign up, register login user. Okay. Okay, let's not use this because if I'll use this, I'll have to return it correspond to that. You can easily copy this and in ChatGPT it will give you the solution. But the main concept is that you just have to separate this users and user sign in. But I would refrain from doing this until and unless we finish this because we might get some different errors here and we might have to handle that, which I think we'll have to do this in next video. It's going really long. This particular video is long basically. So let's try this. Our server is still running, so let's go and let's go to login test1 at the rate gmail.com 123456 login, and it worked. Login was also successful. So you can see we in a start we did a lot of efforts, we tried a lot of things, but eventually it became really easy, right? So in next video, what I will do is I'll handle the API calls correctly. So correctly meaning there are a lot more API errors that are possible. That one that we will fix, and the other thing will be this error related thing. We'll fix this, and yeah, that's it. And we'll have to save some information in our cookies so that we can know whether the user is signed in or not. Okay, so we'll do all these changes in next video. That's it for now. Do comment, like this video, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.